including the great county of Spokane, serving to elect Republicans at every level of government. Some people I run into, thank you. Some people I run into really just care about the presidential election, and others really care about what's going on in their small communities. We are here at every level. But you know what? When you elect in your local communities, and those people become good at what they do, and then they run for higher office and higher office and higher office, pretty soon we've got a Republican team that's so strong and so good that we have what you have in some of your districts right now, where you've got good Republicans facing off against each other. And so what happens is the voters will decide. We are here to help you get your candidates elected. And most of all, we're here to help Republicans get elected when they face off against Democrats. We really need you. You know, one of the things we don't realize until I get to a place like Utah and I talk to all these other people from other states, since we don't register as Democrats or Republicans, part of our job as the grassroots is to figure out who the Democrats and who the Republicans are, because we would waste a tremendous amount of time if we campaigned to hardcore Democrats who will not change their votes.
Amen.
We have to find our Republicans and help educate them, and most of all, we have to find those independents who don't know what they think because they don't know enough to make a decision. And those are the folks we're going to reach when we go door to door. The past several hours, you all have been talking about your platform. And I know there's disagreements whenever we talk platform. I would like to encourage you to take a look at the Democratic Party platform for your county. Most people have not done so. I have looked, because we have a platform at the state level, I have taken a look at the Democratic Party platform that the state of Washington's Democrats stand for. If you print out the state platform, at most, it's about 4.5 pages. The Democratic Party platform is 33 plus pages, and it even has a table of contents. And you know what that means, folks? It means they have schemes for your life in every imaginable area to so much of a degree. You've got a copy of it? To such a degree that you become overwhelmed with government overreach when you read it. Of course, one of the most important things on the platform, and you hold your opponents to this, is that they stand for a state income tax. That's in their platform. Every one of the Democrats who's running for office needs to be held accountable to that. This state does not want a state income tax, and that's what the Democrats stand for. But the first page of their platform is about food, and about how the government has to control everything related to food production. Many of you are farmers or no farmers. You know what it's like when the government starts getting their hand into everything you do. That's what the Democrats want, and it's pretty scary. So as much as we disagree on our own platform on the Republican side, just remember who we're up against. And so I use a phrase when I talk around the state, and I talk about the Republican Party is a patchwork quilt, a colorful patchwork quilt of opinions on just about every issue. But we are united on the most important issue of our day, which is what is the future character of America to be? Are we going to be the land of opportunity, which we have been for more than 200 years, where every child born has a chance at the American dream? Or are we going to be the dependency society that President Obama has so clearly defined for us, where bigger and bigger government, paid for with higher and higher taxes, does for people what they can do for themselves, which takes away their will to work, which takes away their dignity, which takes away their hope. And folks, every one of us in this room is united on that question and the answer we have for it. We don't want any more of Obama-style politics, government overreach, or dishonesty. And that is why you are putting in an all day on Saturday here, and why we came, 4 of us from the state party across the state to be with you. We believe you're very, very important. And that's what our next period of time with you is going to be about, because we want to give you some tools and some inspiration for what we need in order to win in this state. I don't want you to believe that because you are not King County, you don't matter. I want to give you a number. King County is 1/3 of the voters in this state. That means 2/3 of the voters do not live in King County. That's a 2-to-1 edge to non-King County voters. The second most populous county in Washington state is a red county. Pierce County, where Tacoma sits, is a red county, folks, and that's happened over the last decade. We need Spokane County, which is a hugely populous county of our state, to be a major player. We need your voters when we have statewide elections to counter the King County vote. It's not the other way around. A lot of people on this side of the mountains think, well, we're all red counties, which you are, 31 of our 39 counties are red counties. And they say, well, anytime we vote, King County just cancels us out. That does not need to be the case. We are going to cancel out King County. I live in Seattle. Let me tell you what it's like to live by the University of Washington in Seattle, where free speech is not free. In other words, if I put a bumper sticker on my car gets damaged. If I put a yard sign in my yard for Republicans, my house can be vandalized. That costs me money. And so every time I want to express my free speech, I have to weigh how much it's going to cost me to repair the damage done. That's what life is like in the tolerant King County and city of Seattle. So I just remind you folks, we need you. We need Republican principles. We need what you stand for and why you're here hammering out that platform. And then when you've got that platform in place, we need you to start walking. And that's what our presenters are going to give you today in the next few minutes. To give you a little bit of encouragement, we have a new Washington State Republican Party team. I love Spokane. This is where I was elected last August. I have the sweetest place in my heart for this city. I love my job. It's the hardest job I've ever had, but I love what we're doing. We are collaborating for the first time ever with our GOP allies. I'm talking about the think tanks that are working so effectively in the state. I'm talking about the caucuses on both the House and the Senate side. I'm talking about individual interest groups that care about our conservative values. We're collaborating with them. There's power in collaboration. We have a new data system. We're going to be showing you that. This is very exciting. It's really fun to get a glimpse at. We're one of only 3 states in the country that is beta testing the system from the RNC. We were selected. We had to work a little bit to get their attention. They forget about us up here in the corner. We've got momentum. That started with the Majority Coalition Caucus. That's the Senate side. In our legislature, that started in the beginning of 2013. Then we beat Nathan Schlicker with Jan Angel. Good for her. She won by 4 percentage points in a swing district. That was a lot of work by a lot of people, including folks here in Spokane. And then we got Mark Miloscia. Mark Miloscia, a Democrat, elected Democrat, has switched parties and joined the Republican Party. And I want to tell you folks, that has utterly demoralized the left. They don't know what to do about it. Another thing that's demoralizing the left is the diversity that is defying stereotypes. We have more women running, we have more Hispanics running, we have a wonderful African-American woman running from Mercer Island in King County. She stepped up as a Republican. I love to show the slide of the new Republican Party. It's defying stereotypes because we're not stereotypical. We happen to have a larger white population in this state than in most states. But we also represent, this party represents the common man. Our party represents the middle class. Our party represents people who've made a fortune at Microsoft. We have diversity, and that's what we're proud of. So, the Democrats are demoralized. So much so that this week, twice, I've been notified by voice or email that a Democrat wants to help us win. They are getting fed up. The Democrat voters are getting tired of what their party stands for, and they're coming over to our side. So that's been fun to respond to their emails. Finally, we've got a fundraising advantage for the GOP. It's happening at the RNC level, at the national level. Every month they raise more money than the Democrats. You know why? The Democrats are demoralized. They're demoralized by Obamacare. The gift that keeps on giving. Now, for those of you who've lost your health plans, you don't feel that way. But I tell you, folks, politically, we are using that issue because it is the perfect example of that Democratic Party overreach, that big government overreach that's trying to take over every aspect of our lives. So, these are the reasons you should be encouraged. These are the reasons we're so excited that we're here. These are the reasons you are going to make a difference in Spokane County, in your precincts, and in 2014 and 2016. So it starts now, and I can't tell you how important it is that we're all in the same room together. I'd like to introduce my executive director. Where are you, Caleb? You'll see, we have great folks who are here. We like to say in our party, we're like Lake Wobegon. The women are strong and the men are good looking. And all of our PCOs are above average. So here's Caleb, our executive director, and Caleb's going to move us through the next material.
Thank you very much. First of all, how many people here are PCOs? Let's see a show of hands.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you all very much for being a PCO, for being active in the party. I'm going to talk about two things. We'll try and keep it as brief as possible. The first one is, what is a PCO? What do they do? I want to define for you what your actual role in the party is, according to state law and according to our processes. And then the second thing, I'm going to do a quick demo of our new tool that's coming from the RNC that will really empower you and allow you to be more effective as a PCO as we seek to identify voters, as Susan talked about, which is the key of what we're doing. So with that, we'll get started. Obviously, as you know, you're the official representative of your precinct to the Republican Party, and you also represent the Republican Party back to your precinct. As a PCO, you are an elected official. When's filing? Who knows?
May 12th to 16th.
May 12th to the 16th. How many people are going to file for PCO?
No.
Hopefully it's everybody that raised their hands before and more, because we need you. We need to fill every precinct with a Republican who's active in their community, active in their neighborhood, and is out spreading the message. So next slide. The PCO is really the building block of the party. Everything starts and flows up from the precinct. You're representing your precinct, then you have your legislative district, the county, which is what you're doing here today. We have our organizations meeting where you elect the county leadership, who come to the state, and set up our state, then they go to the federal government. But everything flows and starts with you. And this party is nothing without each and every one of you being here and doing what you do. Next slide. The legal duties. There's really three legal duties as defined by law for a precinct committee officer. The first one is assisting your county party in organizing, electing a chairman, electing your state committee man, state committee woman. The second one is responsible for filling vacancies. And then the third one is serving as a voting member of your county committee. And then I guess the fourth actual one is calling the caucuses, which you guys did as well this year. So you already know this, but I just want to make sure you were aware. Next slide. Dealing with organizing. Between December and January 15th of every year, each county has to organize, or I should say after an election. So every 2 years, the county gets together and organize. We don't reorganize, which is what a lot of people say. We actually organize, which is the party every 2 years recreates itself as PCOs are elected, and it's an entirely new party. So we have to pass our bylaws, we have to pass whatever policy statements you have to elect leadership. Otherwise, every 2 years, your party actually would cease to exist. So it's important that you show up for that. The second, go ahead. The next one is filling vacancies. How many people have voted to appoint a legislator or a county clerk recently? I mean, I know we had the county clerk here, and yeah. So across the state in the last year, we've had PCOs appoint 5 different legislators just in the last year, starting left to right. Obviously, Representative Leonard Christian was appointed, Graham Hunt, Jesse Young, Dick Murray, and now Senator Steve Oban. All in the past year were selected by PCOs. So that's an important benefit of being involved, is you get to have a say when a legislator resigns or steps down in who fills that seat. So it's a very important job of the PCO. Next slide. Calling and conducting a caucus. As you all know, because you've been through this is an important job of the PCO, getting people in your neighborhood active, allowing for the say in what the platform is, what the party stands for, what candidates we endorse, and different things like that. So that's an important part of this. A note heading into 2016, different from 2012, is currently, according to state law, we're actually going to have a presidential primary, so that will make it a little different than it was in 2012, where we had no primary. But in the caucus, it's still a very important part of everything we do. Go ahead. So this is when it gets down to where the rubber meets the road, what we need PCOs to be doing for our candidates to be effective across the state. The first one is identify Republican voters. We don't register by party, so if you're not out talking to your neighbors, identifying which way they lean, we don't know. And we have no idea how to wage our campaign. So it really comes down to the PCO doing that, identifying their neighbors. Represent the interests of the party to your neighbors. When people are out talking and having conversations, you need to stand and say, this is what the party stands for. I know you're hurting. I know Obamacare is killing your family budget, but the Republican Party has an alternative. Get out the vote. We need PCOs to be active, reminding their neighbors, reminding the Republicans in their precinct to turn out and vote, and then helping Republican campaigns, and really serving as an ambassador to your neighborhood of the party. Next slide. An ideal PCO is someone who's very involved in their community, involved in your church, involved in the homeowners association. You can't represent your neighborhood unless you know what your neighborhood cares about. And the more you're connected and involved with your community, the more active and better voice you're going to have when you're advocating for our candidates and for our principles. Next. How to be effective. A good first step is start by getting a map. How many people have ever seen a map of their precinct? That's good. Almost all of you have done that, so that's great. But you can do that by going to the county auditor. Most of the auditors will have a map for your precinct, so you need to know what area you represent. And then get to know your neighbors, obviously. Go out and register people to vote. Just be active out there and recruit new volunteers. A lot of people are conservative. They listen to Fox News, listen to the radio. They want to be involved. They just don't know how. So we need to be out asking those people, inviting them to things like this, inviting them to our picnics, and engaging with those folks. Next. Canvassing. Jake's actually going to talk a lot about this, so we can just breeze through this, but it's the best way to identify voters is to show up at their door. The best way to win elections is to show up at people's door. Unless we're out doing that, we're not going to be effective. Go ahead. Here are a couple of easy ideas that other people are doing across the state. Hold barbecues, hold picnics, hold a coffee in your home. We have a lot of great candidates in Spokane, and I'm sure they would be grateful to show up at your house, meet your neighbors. It's easy to do. It makes going now doorbelling easy. You can just pass out a flyer and say, hey, I'm a Republican. I've got Senator Baumgartner's going to be at my house on Wednesday. They're going to say, Baumgartner, I hate that guy. Just slammed the door in your face. Well, you just identified a Democrat. Or they're going to say, oh, I'd love to come. So it's an easy way to find out and get involved and invite people. And people love community, so it's a great way to engage. Next slide. Now I'm going to do a quick demo of the Data Beacon, which is the new tool that the RNC has. A couple key points on this. The Data Solutions Group, which some of the members of your state committee, like Michael Cathcart, was on that tech committee, evaluating the different voter data solutions. They looked at 4 or 5 different ones, and they decided that the RNC has the best tool. And the reason why we call the 4 C's are capability. As you'll see, it's a good tool. It's one of the best ones out there. The commitment, the RNC is heavily invested in making this effective. They understand why they got beat by Obama so bad. And they've devoted between $40 and $50 million to developing this application so that our people on the ground, you, have the tools you need to be effective. The cost to the state and county party, it's free, so you can't beat free. And then 4th is the connectivity. It's developed with an API so that it can link to other systems, what other people are using, so that every candidate, whether it's for water commissioner or president, can be using the same database. We're all gathering the data and able to use it together to be more effective as a team. The next slide. How it works. The way it's going to work is working with your county party. We're going to delegate data captains, and we can do this by legislative district region. I know, so you have 4A, 4B, 4C, however you divide those up. But so we'll have a key person overseeing different precincts, and they'll have access to the tool, be able to create walking lists, and then just shoot you an email that'll show up. And all you have to do then is click on that link with your smartphone, and it'll tell you how to get to your neighbor's house, what questions you can ask them, and how to identify them. So go to the next slide. So this is what it looks like. This is actually on an iPhone. You would get the email, you would open it up, and you could say call list or walk list. You click on walk list, and then it takes you to the next slide, which would show you here's the next 20 people in your precinct that are all unidentified, and here's how to get there. If you get lost on the way, there's down at the bottom left, you can click the Google Map link so you can actually see, is this house, that house? Yeah, it sure looks like it. And then if you click on the start script on the far right, it'll take you to that right screen, which just has a question. Are you going to vote for Senator Baumgartner? Are you going to vote for Senator Patton? Yes, no, undecided. Once you click that box, that information is automatically transmitted back to the database, so our candidates know. They can send that person a mail and say, hey, thanks for agreeing to vote for me. You can ask them what issues they care about. This person says healthcare or Obamacare is their biggest concern. Senator Patton, Senator Baumgartner can send them a letter that says, this is my position on Obamacare, this is what I'm doing to fix it. And this application also has a call tool, which is on the left, which is basically the same function, except you do it from your comfort of your own home. You click on the phone, calls up the voter, you've got the script, you enter the questions, and it's automatically transmitting that data back to the beacon, so our candidates at every level can use it. So this is a key tool that will allow you to be more effective, make it easy to identify a couple of your neighbors. Even if you only go out and talk to 20 or 30 people, that makes a huge difference in these campaigns, because we need to know who our voters are and what they care about. Next slide. I'm going to leave you with this, and that is, we need you. The party is just a structure. We support programs. We're developing applications and trying to empower you. But if you're not being active, whatever we do is not going to be effective. And our candidates can't win without the supports of great grassroots involved individuals like yourself. So thank you very much for being here. Jake Bronger, who's our new political director, we hired him from Washington, D.C. He's worked with the Leadership Institute, and he worked on the Rick Santorum for presidential campaign, actually. So he's going to talk a little bit about how to be effective at the door. So thank you.
God made me a little bit of a taller person, so I do like to walk around the crowd for this next presentation. I hope that doesn't weird anybody out. I plan on calling you out and asking you a few questions as we get started. And just so you guys know, I was originally given an